On Tuesday, 11 September 2001, suicide attackers seized US passenger jets and crashed them into two New York skyscrapers, killing thousands of people. The attack, carried out by 19 terrorists associated with the Islamic extremist group Al-Qaeda, remains one of the most traumatic events of the century, not only for Americans but also for the world. What were the targets? 4 planes flying over the eastern US were seized simultaneously by small teams of hijackers. They were then used as giant guided missiles to crash into landmark buildings in New York and Washington. 2 planes struck the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York. The first hit the North Tower at 8:46 Eastern Time. The second crashed into the South Tower at 9:03. The buildings were set on fire, trapping people on the upper floors and wreathing the city in smoke. In less than 2 hours, both 110-story towers collapsed in massive clouds of dust. At 9:37, the third plane destroyed the western face of the Pentagon, the giant headquarters of the US military, just outside the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. The fourth plane crashed in a field in Pennsylvania at 10:03 after passengers fought back. It is thought the hijackers had meant to attack the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. In all, 2,977 people, not counting the 19 hijackers, lost their lives, most of them in New York. Thousands of people were injured or later developed illnesses connected to the attacks, including firefighters who had worked in toxic debris. This year, for the first time in 20 years, the anniversary of 9/11 will be marked without US troops in Afghanistan, where the terrorist attacks were planned. Who were the attackers? Led by Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda blamed the US and its allies for conflicts in the Muslim world. 15 hijackers were Saudis like bin Laden himself, 2 were from the United Arab Emirates, 1 was from Egypt, and 1 was from Lebanon. Each group included someone who had received pilot training. This was carried out at flying schools in the United States itself. How did the US respond? Less than a month after the attacks, President George W. Bush led an invasion of Afghanistan supported by an international coalition to eradicate Al-Qaeda and hunt down bin Laden. However, it was not until 2011 that US troops finally located and killed bin Laden in neighbouring Pakistan. The alleged planner of the 9/11 attacks, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, was arrested in Pakistan in 2003. He, along with 4 others, have been held in US custody at Guantanamo Bay since then, and it was only on September 7 this year that the trial restarted. The legacy of 9/11. Flight safety was tightened around the world in the years following 9/11. In the US, the Transportation Security Administration was created to beef up security at airports and on planes. It took more than 8 months to clean up Ground Zero, the site of the fallen Twin Towers. A memorial and a museum now stands on the site, and buildings have risen up again to a different design. The completed centerpiece, One World Trade Center or Freedom Tower, stands even higher than the original North Tower, which was 1,368 feet. Reconstruction at the Pentagon took just under a year, with staff back in their offices by August 2002. However, Al-Qaeda still exists. It is strongest in Sub-Saharan Africa, but even now has members inside Afghanistan. US troops left Afghanistan this year after nearly 20 years, stoking fears from many that the Islamist network could make a comeback. Though many grand statements are being used by the Taliban, the situation on the ground with regard to human rights, particularly for minorities and women, is worsening with every passing day. Moreover, the cost of the war for the US and its NATO allies was in billions. Also, the inclusion of hardliners in the caretaker government of Islamic Emirates, those who were involved in the terror attacks, shows that the US is back to square one regarding the war on terror. In the end, Afghanistan is back to where it was, under the Taliban rule, just as the world found it almost 20 years ago.